Ow, ski, 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 mo. Ow, ski, 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 okay, hey guys, it's Wahima, but just call me Wah. Melanated! Welcome to my recap of 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After. This is season 4, episode 6. I got my hair done. I'll be back. Girl, she didn't have her earrings, Nefertiti wasn't to the front. This shirt, it says California, it's from Fashion Nova. I cut it so that it wasn't off the shoulder because you know she loves to show a little shoulder. This lip, Mademoiselle by Fenty Beauty, and let's go ahead and jump into this episode. So normally we start with the most boring couple and move forward. However, let's just go ahead and jump right into Nicole and Azan and talk about the elephant in the room. It's not that I thought that Azan was a scammer. I don't think he's as bad as Mohammed Jabali. But I do think that he started talking to this American girl, started getting her to give him money, and then he got on this show, maybe make a little extra money, and now this whole thing has spiraled out of control. The day before that Nicole is supposed to get on the plane to go to Grenada, he cancels on her, tells her he has a family emergency and he can't go. I really feel bad for her because this entire time she's been trying to convince the entire 90 Day Fiancé community that Azan does love her. How much money has she wasted on Azan? Okay, let's start from the beginning. So we first see that they're in some kind of trailer park, girl, and it's under construction. Her hair finally looks better, and she's talking to her brother Thomas and her father who come over. The girl is packing for Grenada. She has got all manner of inappropriate shoes for May. I mean, all closed-toe. Does she not know she's going to a beach? Does she not know she's going to the Caribbean? She's gonna be there for 3 glorious weeks, and she has like 6 or 7 pairs of boots and closed-toed shoes on her bed. Ooh. So when her father and Thomas come into her room to chat with her, they have to move all the shoes out of the way, and I think to myself, like, why are the shoes on the bed? So Nicole says that the whole reason why they're going to Grenada is so that they can relax and have a good time and just not think about all of the things that they actually have to do in real life and just take this moment to like love on each other and get to know each other and blah, 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 blah. Her father and Thomas have reservations. Thomas thinks that she's absolutely being an idiot and that Azan doesn't love her and that he's scamming her. But he says that Nicole is pig-headed and she's stubborn and she really believes that her and Azan are married. She really believes that Azan is Nicole's father and that she has sold herself this story and all the rest of them just have to come along and pretend with her and they're all having a hard time doing it. I mean, he didn't say all that, girl, but that was my interpretation. Her father is just like always smiling. So is Azan going to Grenada? And she's like, yeah. Has he bought his ticket yet? And she's like, yeah, I bought the ticket. And the dad's like, oh. Thomas and the dad don't understand how Azan can feel good as a man allowing her to work and send him money. The dad's even like, so I don't understand. He's not working now because he's waiting for you to get there? And Nicole's like, something like that. And then the dad is like, I just want to know why the boy doesn't work. And she's like, well, Dad, that is a question you are going to have to ask him when you see him in Grenada. And I'm sure he'll have an answer for you. And we're all like, girl, he's not going to have an answer. Nicole is like, I don't see any reason why you two won't get along and any reason why you won't like him. And her dad's like, okay, I just feel like, you know, does a Muslim man feel comfortable allowing his wife or his woman to take care of him? And then I thought to myself, like, what does it have to do with him being Muslim? Is there some kind of like law in the Quran that says thou shalt not be a fuckboy? I mean, I don't think so. So the dad wants to know practical things like, is Azan going to be able to take care of Nicole and May? Does he love May? What are his real intentions? And so Nicole is just so sure that everything is going to work out once the dad and Azan meet. So Nicole is done packing. Production is like, I guess, getting set up to have a conversation with Azan via Skype or something, girl, because they're all just kind of like milling about. It's got an amazing couch. It's got a wonderful workout center. It is just a lovely place to be hanging out. Nicole gets a phone call. You're breaking up. I don't understand. What, baby? I can't hear you. No, I mean, I can't hear you. Like, what did you just say? And she gets up and she goes into the room and slams the door. And we're like, oh my God, what happened? What did Azan just say to her? Well, Nicole's not coming out of the room. Robba Lee shows up and Robba Lee's like, yeah, Nicole called me. And the producer's like, what did she say? And she's like, well, she said that Grenada isn't happening. And the producer's like, what? And Robert Lee's like, yeah, but she's also not here. And the producer's like, what do you mean she's not here? He's like, no, she's not on this property. I'm gonna go find her. I'll be back. And it turns out that Nickel has somehow flew the coop. I don't know, girl, how she got out. Did she go out the window? Because I know trailers only got one door. Girl, she is somehow missing in action, just like gone in the dark. Robert Lee's like, I need a flashlight. Let me find my daughter. So Robert Lee's gone, and she says that when she comes back, she'll have more answers for producers. And she finds Nickel, and then Nickel comes back like, oh, it's fine. I just ran off into the darkness because I just felt like running, so I did. But everything is fine. Azan had a family emergency. He can't go to Grenada. And I'm not upset. I'm just not upset. And Robert Lee is like, okay, well, you know, I'm a mom. And as a mom, I worry. And what did he say? Oh, he just said that he had like a family thing come up and he can't go. It's an emergency. And, you know, we're good. We're good. And Robert Lee's like, he's a scammer. And Nicole's like, I don't want to hear that talk right now. I don't want to hear that. We are fine. It is just, girl. At this point, I just feel really bad for Nicole. Like, I know everybody's like, oh, she's dumb, she's this. But this child is living in a fantasy world. My own little nasty world. Not like that. That's what that reminded me of. But that's not at all pertaining to Nicole's situation, because I don't believe for one second she and Azan are having sex. And I think that's why she was so excited to go to Grenada to like have lots and lots of sex with Azan and be a family. She is just trying so hard to save face, and Azan won't even come on to say what the reason is, because he thinks that he's going to be produced in a bad light. When the crew is there, like, May is good, girl. May is like laying on the ground. She is happy bo-bappy. And then all this shit goes down, and she's like there to comfort her mom and trying to like discern and try to understand if everything is okay. And there's camera crew and people are, you know, talking. What is May thinking right now in this moment? Like, how is this affecting May is what I want to know. Then Nicole says that she has every confidence once they're husband and wife that they will be able to live in the same place and take care of each other. And my heart broke for her. She just really wants someone to love her and to take care of her. To see somebody be so young and so foolish on national television is just so sad. It makes for amazing TV. But my question is, why can't she go to Grenada without him? You booked a 3-week trip to Grenada, girl. You better get on that plane, and you and May and your dad better have an amazing time in Grenada. Go, relax, do all the things that you wanted to do. I mean, that's such a 30-something-year-old thing to say, like, honestly, because like no girl in their 20s would just go to a tropical island by herself with her and her daughter and her dad. But listen, it is what needs to happen. It's what needs to happen. Next, we're going to talk about Pau and Russ. Pau went to the doctor and got a shot. Next, we're going to talk about Elizabeth and Andre. Andre is a bum. Andre's having a hard time reconciling his role as the man and then him not having a job. This is what I don't understand. Libby feels some kind of way because she's working, but there are plenty of pregnant women who work up into their due date and are perfectly fine and happy to do so, but not Libby. She feels like there's a lot of stress and pressure put on her. Her reaction would be to tell Andre that once she goes on maternity leaves that she's not working and that's it, and he's gonna have to figure it out. And I think, wow, you are really about to put yourself in an imposition because you want him to step up and be the man. We first start off with her going to see a property and her father coming in looking like that Florida heat has got to him. Like, be draggled, be sweated, be sloppy, be comb over looking crazy, hot. He looks like he has no AC in that car. He looks like there's no AC in the house. He looks like he doesn't have a towel in his back pocket to wipe his face and his neck with. This man works really hard for all of his money. So I'm 100% on Chuck's side. Chuck is living his life, doing what he needs to do to take care of all of his family members. And then he still has to take care of the one child who has a husband. Like, I feel him. So we start off where they're in this rental property and she's showing him little things around the house. It's like an episode of Flip and Flop, and she's Christina, whatever her name is now that she's not Madlouk or whatever her last name, you know, because Tariq and Christina got a divorce and now Christina has moved on and married, I think, the guy who used to do like the construction work for them as a company, and you know, everybody's happy. But anyways, that's what she reminds me of. And her father's like, I think it's great, I think it's great. And then she ends up asking her father for a favor, and that favor is to allow Andre to work for him. And the father says, I don't have a problem giving him a job, but he's gonna have to come and ask me. And that's when I'm just like, this is now power play. And Elizabeth really feels like her father can like talk some sense into Andre, and I don't think she quite understands what's happening. What's happening is this Moldovan man thought that he could come to America and live his life and support him and his wife the same way he did in Moldova and possibly Dublin, right? Not understanding that things are expensive in the US and life is hard. It's not as easy as it's made out to seem, right? They're in Florida suffering, so you know something is up with that. The fact that he can't get a job or he's refusing to find steady work, again, I don't understand why he doesn't work at Home Depot, but you know, that's just me. And she's like, oh, it's really hard because now I have to pay rent. And I'm like, that's like every other adult in this world, Elizabeth, so stop talking about rent like your life is so hard. We all pay rent, sis. So Elizabeth brings up some very good points. She says that she's really disappointed in Andre and his work ethic, that she really thought that he was gonna come here and hit the ground running and do everything that he could possibly be doing this entire time to secure the bag for her and the baby. And it just seems like in the last couple of months, she's been really disillusioned because he isn't willing to do anything. And part of that anything is asking her father for help, but he won't do it because he says that it's gonna be held over him. But at the end of the day, you either go out and figure it out on your own or you get help from your family. And you can't just sit in between that. You have to make a choice, right? And I agree with her. A next scene where he's like online posting up an ad for his handyman skills, and she comes in and he's like, what have you been doing all day? And I'm like, she's been working. What have you been doing all day? Well, I need you to talk to my dad about getting a job. He said he would offer you a job. And he's like, I'm not doing that. And then she's like, well, also you should know my dad is the one who gave us the down on this house. He's like, you're stepping over me and I'm trying to like run the house. And she's just like, I'm the man. Like, based on your standards of what the man is supposed to do, I'm the man. So I'm going to be making the decision. So shut up and listen to me. And she's like, look, all I want to do is stay home and take care of the house and the babies. You're supposed to go out and work. But now I'm taking care of the babies. I'm working, and that's not going to happen afterwards. So you need to figure it out because I'm quitting working in a couple of months. You know, he's like, everything is going to be fine. I put my ad out and I'll make tons of money and we'll be fine. And I'm just like, you don't know that. I guess if he's putting his like name out there on TaskRabbit or a lot of other things, like perhaps he can eke out a living, but for himself, not for a whole family. I don't think that Elizabeth and Andre are, they don't. Yes? Yeah, but come in. What, right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, you guys, so I had to go pick up my nephew and it's a different day. Same shirt, less makeup. Let's jump into it. Okay, so we left out talking about Andre and Elizabeth. It's almost a good thing that I had to quit yesterday because last night I watched an extra 45 minutes that wasn't recorded in the original recording that I had on my DVR. Let's pick up where we left off with Elizabeth and Andre. So they're arguing, and the bottom line is, I don't understand why Elizabeth needs to run to her dad for everything. Her dad is not going to be able to solve her marital problems. So now Andre's in his confessional saying that Elizabeth stabbed him in the back. So he's gonna go and talk to her dad because she told him that her dad wanted to have a conversation with him. And I think this is the meeting in which Elizabeth believes that her father is gonna somehow convince Andre to work for him, and then she's not gonna have to work and it's gonna be okay. But of course, Andre gets over there to Chuck's office and acts up. I mean, Andre is just so prideful, and when Chuck tells him that, Andre freaks out and is like, you're prideful too. And it was just like, at that point, I knew that there's nothing that Chuck could say to salvage this situation. Andre is gonna run him and his wife into the ground, dealing with his pride and his ego. Chuck realizes also that he can't get through to Andre, and so Andre then goes, okay, since we have nothing to talk about, you know, family's families, business is business, I'm gonna bounce, have a good night. And he gets up and leaves. Chuck says that he's not gonna let his daughter and his granddaughter suffer. So Chuck is also part of the problem too, because Chuck really just needs to let them sink and let Andre do the things that he needs to do, because Andre honestly thinks that he could just like make work as a handyman and be able to take care of his family. That shit is crazy. So the next couple that we're gonna go back to is Azan and Nicole. Nicole has dyed her hair. Okay, it's purple. She's wearing glasses and she's working out. I feel like Nicole is in some kind of depression and she's just trying to do anything different than her normal routine to get herself out of it. So she's been staying with her sister and her brother, and now she's worn out her welcome with them, and it's time for her to go stay with another family member. So her brother Thomas drives her and May over to grandma's house, and so they're at Robert Lee's house. Nicole says that she's only going to be staying with Robert Lee for a few weeks until she can get enough money to go to Morocco, where she hopes to and intends to marry Azan. So they're all sitting around the table and Papa Joe walks in and Papa Joe says, "My house is being invaded." And Nicole's like sitting there kind of awkward. She doesn't say anything. And Papa Joe starts to talk about this email that he received a few weeks ago stating that this person knew Azan and buddied with him. And Azan told this person that he never planned on marrying Nicole and that his sister does not approve of the marriage, which is why it's not going to happen. Nicole was like, "I don't believe this stranger on the internet," but Papa Joe is like, "That sounds more like the Azan we know." And Nicole is defensive, but she's not as defensive as she normally is. You can tell that the fight and the wind is all out of her sails. She's just trying to like move forward from the huge embarrassment that was Grenada. She says that she got some of her money back, more so than she got with Korea, and that she's going to put that money towards her going to see Azan. And Robali just starts to ask the same kind of questions that she normally asks. And Robali asks what happened, like what was the family emergency? And Nicole's like, "I'm not going to tell you, that's personal. Like if something were to happen to this family, I wouldn't go to Morocco and tell all of his family what's going on." And I'm like, yeah, you would. If it was like a real family emergency and Noble, you would be like, "Yeah, I had, my Papa Joe had an accident." Or like you would say whatever it is that happened, but because it's shameful or because nothing really happened or because what he told you is bogus, you're not telling your family, you're going to say it's personal. Okay. Nicole gets upset when Papa Joe starts to talk about the emails, and she gets up and she walks away, but not with the same fiery energy she normally does. She just kind of goes into the living room area and like listens to the conversation that Papa Joe and Thomas are having about this scammer. And Robali just says, "You know what? I want to support you because I know that your heart is in it and I see that you're struggling with this thing." And I don't think Robali wants to make Nicole feel bad anymore. And so she's just kind of, "Okay, honey, like we'll see what happens." And Nicole's like, "Just please trust me. Things are going to be okay. I love him and I just want to be with the person that I love. That's all I want." And her mom is just like, "All right." And Papa Joe's like, "Fine, I guess." Oh, I have a little bit to say about Russ and Pal. So they go to a birthing center and Pal was just looking at all her options for having this child. And Russ makes some sort of comment about not wanting Pal to have the baby in a birthing center because there's going to be no epidural and he's not going to be able to console her and make her feel comfortable if she's not on medication or if he doesn't have help from drugs. And I'm just like, what? And then he's like, "I've never even heard of having a kid in a bathtub. That's not done in Oklahoma." And I'm just like, how do you think kids were born before? Like, what? How do people think that women had babies before obstetrics? I said obstetrics? Like the whole OBGYN thing is relatively new. And in the beginning, when women came to the hospital to have babies, like the doctors put them under and like did a C-section. Like it was really archaic and like crazy when doctors started birthing babies. And actually there was this campaign that scared women away from having their babies with midwives for a very long time, which is why most people, at least in America, have kids in hospitals. But like really birthing centers and having your baby at home is like the way that women have had children for all of humanity up until like the last 50, 60 years. Women had their babies at home. And so for him to act like he's never, like, I mean, I guess he's never, so I'm not going to say he's acting like he's never heard of it. But for him to like not have heard of that is so weird to me. Okay, let's move on to Colty and Larissa. We're hot off the like shock and stress of Debbie not knowing that Larissa has kids and them hiding that information from Debbie and Debbie feeling like no one cares and loves her and that's why they didn't tell her. We're in a cat store, you guys. They're really playing this cat angle up like a lot. They're there because Colt says that he wants to do something for his mother that makes her happy and makes her feel good, and so the cat store it is. So they're in there talking and Debbie says that the fact that they didn't tell her that Larissa has kids makes Debbie feel left out and that Colty doesn't really love her, and she starts to cry. And then I go, this is so like, I hate to talk about their relationship because like I think it is kind of sweet on a certain level, but that whole scene in the cat store was ridiculous. And he's like, well, we didn't want to tell you because we wanted to, like, but why does she need to know? She gonna be paying for those kids? Colty says the part of the reason why he didn't tell Debbie that Larissa has children is because Larissa was already a stranger coming from another country and he didn't want to add any extra pressure or any extra details to his mother's plate. What? A stranger from another country? Like, y'all are strangers to her. All the pressure just falls on the foreigner to be the better and bigger person, and I don't understand why. The next scene we have with Colty and Larissa is that it looks like they're going out on a date. And then they get in the car and we realize that they're not going on a date. They're going to a sex therapist. And for some reason, Larissa is just overdressed. I mean, she's wearing like a beautiful blue dress that I think looks great. That color is fantastic. But I literally thought they were going out on a date or going out on the town or something because of the way she was dressed. She is in her little dress with her wedges because we all know Larissa loves a cork wedge girl. She will wear a cork wedge with a ball gown if she could. I mean, she literally wore it for her wedding. So yeah, she would. They get to the sex therapist and Colty says that it's been hard because they used to have amazing sex in the beginning and they used to have sex all the time. Larissa says that she's not a blow-up doll. She's not a sex doll. That's what Colty thinks that she is. And so part of the reason why they're not having sex is because he called the police on her. She's not feeling sexy or desired or wanted by him at all. And she's like, no, I'm not having sex with you. And then on top of that, he like wants to have sex a lot. And she's like, why can't you jack off? And he's like, well, I got married. That's why I don't want to jack off anymore. And then they're in front of the therapist. Larissa talks about living with Debbie and how that's a downer as well, and how she doesn't want to have sex and doesn't feel sexy and doesn't feel like she can be the wife in this because Debbie is the wife in this and she doesn't exactly know where her place is. And so the sex therapist basically says you need to move from underneath your mom. Colt tries to say that she knew that Colt was living with his mother. Larissa says, don't try to say that because you told me that we would move. Then Colty says, I would just like to have sex, you know, whenever, but she is like a samurai. She needs to get dressed. She needs to put on makeup and perfume and do all these things before she's ready. And if one little thing goes wrong, then she doesn't want to have sex anymore. And the sex therapist is like, yeah, sometimes that's what happens. Sometimes women want to feel sexy and go through a process in order to get ready for sex. And then if something happens that destroys that, then it's over. And that's part of being married and that's part of being in a relationship. Colt has this idea of what being married and being in a relationship is, and it isn't reality. It's something that is very, I don't know, like there's no drama in it and there's no adversity and you just like look at each other and dip up your glasses and smile and say things like darling and hun and I'll do my best and then don't do anything different. Like, I just feel like Colty doesn't realize that what he's not doing in this relationship. He thinks it's all in Larissa. Like she's she's some loose cannon or some like wildcat. And from what we see on TV, she's not. So yeah, Larissa's basically like, your mother is your first wife and I can't get over that fact. Also, she says that Colty isn't very good at sex and that Brazilian men know what to do, but Colt doesn't. She also says that Colty wants to talk dirty in bed and that's not her bag. So it looks like they just have two different sex styles and sex expectations and they just need to meet in the middle. I mean, we know from like Extra T that Colty like watches a lot of porn and so that's his like baseline for what sex should be. So I think that could be a problem in their relationship as well. And we all know that he objectifies her, right? Like talking about her Brazilian butt and how hot she is and all that stuff. The sex therapist suggests that they go on a date and that they start to build up the romance again. Colt decides that that means that he's gonna take her to a pumpkin patch because he wants to make that a tradition. They're on their way to a pumpkin patch because it is Halloween time. He's asking her like, you know, what do you wanna be? And she's like, I wanna be an astronaut. And he's like, well, why not something sexy? And she's like, okay, I mean, I guess I could kind of make it sexy, but I want to be an astronaut. And he's just trying to push her into this like sexy Brazilian role. And that really like solidifies my thoughts that he just wants her to be this sexy woman on his arm, but he doesn't want to pay for all that sexy is what I feel. They get to the pumpkin patch and she doesn't understand the point of it. She's like, why would you grow pumpkins just to carve them up? And what is carving? And he proceeds to explain what carving is in the most psychopathic manner ever. Carving pumpkins really isn't my thing. Like, it's just like sloppy and pumpkins smell weird and like they don't even last that long and then you have like a rotting pumpkin, you know, with like a candle. Like, it's, girl, it's just too much. Especially when you don't have kids, and they don't have kids. So I thought this was really weird and juvenile, but you know, to each his own. Larissa thinks it's weird too. So he's like, pick a pumpkin that reminds you of me, and she picks like a bulbous, like lumpy pumpkin, and I'm just dying. Larissa is trolling Colt at every point. She picks out an albino one. She's like, this is like you too because you're really white and pasty. It is so rude and hilarious, but he seems to be a good sport about it, and they have a good time, and she's like, I don't see the point of this punky patch. So they're in their spirit, and they get back to the house, and they're starting to decorate the house with Halloween decorations, and so they're, you know, putting up lights and putting up, like, Halloween, like, witches and stuff, and she puts something on the slot machine, and she says, you know what, Colty, after Halloween, we're gonna have to move the slot machine into the garage, and Colty's like, well, that's a conversation for another day. Then Debbie comes and she offers up some more Halloween decorations, and she has like this fake plastic hand, and Larissa brings up the slot machine and she says, Debbie, you know, I was thinking that after Halloween we move the slot machine into the garage. And Debbie's like, absolutely not. Like, she freaks out. Absolutely, no, we're not moving it. And as I recall, Debbie said that she left the house less designed and less decorated because she wanted Larissa to feel at home, and she wanted Larissa to decorate the house. And so part of that decoration is moving that dumb slot machine that nobody uses into the garage. And I get it that it's because Debbie's husband bought that for her, and so it's sentimental, but I mean, if you're trying to make room for your daughter-in-law and this thing is not doing anything, like, what's the point in having it in the house? Anyways, I can see where both sides are coming from, and I get that Debbie feels like her space is being encroached on, and she says that she's just been having issues in general with Larissa moving her stuff, that Larissa moved her food processor, and Larissa said, you know what, Debbie, you don't even touch these things. I'm moving them because you don't touch them, and there's no reason for them to be out and cluttering the house. I'm trying to clean, I'm trying to make the space look better, and you won't let me, and it's only because I touched it that you have a problem. And I agree. So they get into an argument, and both Debbie and Colt act like Larissa's attitude or argument was so over the top and crazy. Debbie's like, I can't talk to you when you're like this. And I'm just like, she's like, what? She's literally just explaining the fact that she thinks Debbie is a territorialist and that Debbie doesn't care about any of the items in the house until she touches it. And Debbie's like, I can't talk to you when you're like this. And she throws the fake hand off and she storms away. Colt says, I'm not controlled by my mom. And Larissa's like, yes, you are. You are a P-U-S-S-Y girl. She calls him a P-U-S-S-Y. And then he's like, I need somebody who I can talk to who isn't gonna fly off the handle and act the way you're acting right now. And I don't feel like Larissa is acting any way. I feel like she's just telling him how she feels with a lot of eye rolls and shoulder shrugs. Then he starts to talk and she's like, no, okay, puss. Okay, I don't have time to listen to puss. And she walks away, and I died. I was dead. It's getting hot in here, so hot. She goes outside and she talks to producers, and she's just like, I don't understand why Colt won't stand up for me. I don't understand why he won't moderate. I don't understand why he just like sits there and lets this happen. He told me that we weren't going to be living with Debbie the whole time, and I just don't want to deal with it anymore. And she's like walking around the house and she's looking at her nails and she's like, whatever. And Colt's like, I can't talk to Larissa when she's acting like this. She's out of control. And I'm just like, oh no, this is this narrative that she's out of control and she's attacking you. Larissa, you gotta go because he's gonna call the police on you again. Don't trust him for a second. Last couple that we're gonna talk about is Chantal and Pedro. So we start off with Chantal missing Pedro, and Pedro's in the Dominican Republic. He's been there for a week and he's having a grand old inappropriate time. Chantal calls one of her good Judies from the Dominican Republic. His name is Obed, and they have a conversation about Pedro and Pedro's family. Obed drops a little bit of information about Lydia and Nicole, which is Pedro's mom and sister, and says that he used to date a family member or something like that, and I guess when they were in the US, they used to send money to Lydia and Nicole, and when Obed suggested that they stop, Lydia and Nicole broke up Obed and whoever family member that he was dating. That story just sounds weird. I don't understand why him and his partner, I assume it's his partner, him and this person that he was dating would be sending money. It just sounds fishy and weird to me, but whatever. So that like sparks a light in Chantal, and Chantal's like, well, then I need to go to the DR and see Pedro. And Obed's like, yeah, you need to come here and see what he's up to, because I would not trust his parents. I would not trust his family at all. And so Chantal then has a girls' night out, which looks like the lamest girls' night out I've ever seen in my entire life. And they're all going to different parties. Like, Winter is going to some kind of Studio 54 situation. I mean, Mama has got like a choker that is attached to one arm and one arm. It's just a lot, like a sequence. Like, girl, it's a lot. Chantal is wearing like a plastic or latex dress that is not as form-fitting as it should be, so it's kind of like loose. She looks like she's going to some kind of Hollywood Coke party. Other friend looks like she just went out to get some milk, and one of the friends looks like she's at a family picnic. Her three friends, like, you know you're gonna be on camera, and so in the beginning they're not even like hyping her up. They're not doing their job. Like, y'all got called to this scene to talk shit about Pedro and give Chantal advice, and Winter is the only person that's really engaging and doing what she's supposed to do. The rest of them are just kind of sitting back. I mean, the one who was getting a divorce herself is like, you need to exhaust all possibilities, but like the one who looked like she was going out to get some milk, I was like, sis, not even some mascara? Y'all are in a club, and then they have like shots of them supposedly dancing, and I was just like, this looks like so whack. Like, she tells her friends that Pedro is in the DR using their shared saved money to finance this trip. Does she not understand that she can't divulge things like that to people who aren't in their marriage if she ever wants to have their support again? Chantal really needs to be more like Nicole and just give the bright side of things at all times. So then we cut to Pedro, who's in the DR, and for some reason they have to film him getting ready for the day, girl. Like, I didn't understand that scene at all. Chantal calls him, says that she's coming. He tries to tell her not to, and that he's happier without her being there, and he's on vacation, he's having a great time. And Chantal's like, no, I'm coming, and she hangs up. And so then he goes and tells his mother and sister that Chantal's coming. They don't want her to stay there, and they're like, why is she coming? She's being selfish. You're having such a great time. And then Pedro starts to like get mad at them because he's like, I don't want you to be like her family. I don't want you to treat her the way her family treated me. I want you to be better than that, and you're acting like you're not going to be better than that. And Pedro's mom is like, we don't want to deal with that. After everything her and her family did to you and Nicole, like, I don't want her here. And Pedro gets mad at that too, because they're like, she can't stay here. And he's like, I pay the rent here. What do you mean she can't stay here? And they're just like, well, Pedro's like, I need you to support me. I need you to be on my side with this and go with my choices. And they're upset. Mom leaves. She doesn't want to eat breakfast. So then the next scene is Pedro then going to the bar to hang out with his friends once again. And that girl that he was dancing with a couple nights before is there. And they're all basically telling him that he needs to let Chantal go, and that she's being selfish for coming here, and that she's crazy, and how did he get himself into this situation. And they're trying to get him to drink. And the girl has a lot to say about Chantal. And I found myself getting really annoyed and being like, bitch, you need to step back. That's Chantal's man, okay? I found myself being really annoyed by that whole situation because I felt like both of them are telling people too much information about their marriage. The next day, Chantal comes to the DR, and Pedro is pissed. He brings her flowers and a balloon because that's their tradition, but he's like, hi, let's go, whatever, you're fine, great, I'm glad your flight was good, cool, get in the car. And she's like, I hope we're not going to your mom's house. And he's just like, no, I got a place at a resort. So he's fully annoyed. And then he's like, just so you know, I've had the best week of my entire life. And she's like, the best week of your life? And he's like, yes, here in DR without you. I mean, he doesn't say that, but that is the sentiment. And then they get to the resort, and she starts to yell about how, or she starts to speak sternly about how Pedro's mom needs to respect her, and the respect needs to go both ways, and that she's not going to go talk to them, blah, blah, blah. And Pedro's like, look, you're not going to come here and do that. You're going to come here, be respectful, and go see my mom. That's what you're going to do. Because we need to talk about the fact that, about the fight, we need to talk about everything, and we need to fix things. You want to fix things or you don't want to fix things. And so again, we see them both just not being vulnerable. I mean, I just wish that they would watch A Call to Courage from Brene Brown on Netflix. It's changing my life. I'm trying to implement some of those policies and rules and things that you need to do for yourself. I'm also reading other books by Brene Brown. So like, I'm all in that, you know, we need to be vulnerable. We need to talk about how we feel. We need to not make up stories about what our partner is thinking or doing or saying or telling us. We need to ask the questions. We need to not scream in silence. Like, girl, like, I really want Pedro and Chantal to make it, and I feel like they just aren't doing what they need to do. I don't believe that Pedro's a scammer. I believe that Pedro does love Chantal. Like, he does love her. It's just so much bad and negativity that he just can't get over it, and I understand why. All right, you guys, so that's the end of this episode. Thank you so much for watching. This was a doozy. I did watch 90 Day the other way, but it might take me a little bit longer to get it out than I thought because of how disjointed the episodes were this week, or how at least my DVR recorded it, so I don't know. Go on ahead and check out the merch that I have down below. Let's have a kiki and a conversation in the comment section. Go on ahead and leave a comment down below. Let's talk about this episode. Let me know what you thought. Check out my merch while you're down there because it's right above the comment section, so you can have a look-see at it. Don't forget to follow me on my social media platforms such as Instagram, Twitter, I'm never on there, and Facebook, like, don't even bother, girl. I try to go on Facebook, girl, I can't manage more than 2. All right, you guys, remember to be you, be true, and find your place. Bye. I gotta shower and get ready for work. Somebody have a word.